So I have a message to share about what I've learned about throughout life and how that has made me come to the conclusion that um, I am racist. I know that sounds very harsh, but it'll sound very justified at the end. Let me, or just believe me. So it's all, you know, it all stems from this one event that I had in my life, and there are other indicators that this is true, that my conclusion about the thing is true. So, this is what I gotta say. I'll just say the main event and then I'll add in the other clues that I've had throughout my life that made me believe it more. And I've already recorded this on my recorder or whatever, on my phone. But I just want to be loud and bold and inerrant with what I'm saying. So, okay, I'm just gonna see myself. Um, when I was in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, I jumped off a bridge, and there's this whole blackmailing thing, which made me get into this mess of being communistically tied to others, and I had this agenda that if I were to jump off a small distance of a bridge, which I did, then those tied to whatever communistic crap, they would have to be thrown off a 7-story building. So I did jump off a bridge, that small bridge, and the other people, they were thrown off a 7-story building and they died. And when they died, they went to the afterlife, and then when they came back to the hospital because they just had that near-death experience. So I could add that into my title of NDE, I am racist. They all had a near-death experience, and when they went to heaven, it was a few Native American people and a black guy. When they all died and went to heaven, they saw white people in heaven. They saw no black people in heaven. And the black guy who had died, he told me that in his afterlife experience, he was in complete darkness, not in heaven. This is my story. This is what I remember them telling me. And you can look up the records of the hospital and find out that at this time, these people were recovered after I jumped off that bridge. Anyway, so at face value, you may say the black guy, he was just a 1 in a million, purgatory. No, but seriously, when the other Native Americans died, they said they saw me in heaven, which kind of makes sense because if you think about what heaven is, it's out of time's constraints. So one day you'll be in heaven, and there's no time there. So if you're there, you're there. And there's no black people in heaven either. No black people at all. That's what they told me. And they died. I'm not going to disbelieve them. So now I am racist. Now I will not entertain the idea of spreading the word to black people so that they can go to heaven. Because that's going to be fruitless, dude. That never going to happen. They were out of time. There was no black people there. And then now to my side, clues that make it all make sense as well too. I had a dream before where I was in my house, like in the basement where I was, sleeping, and I was with this other girl, Ella Hirsch, who was going to my college at the time, and then this ghost came in, and he started stabbing me repeatedly in the stomach. I couldn't break free from it. I was very helpless. And later in some of my classes, my math class, I saw that this black guy, no, it was in my PE class. This black guy came into the PE class, and Ella Hirsch ran away. She left the PE class because that black guy wasn't in PE class. And there was some odd connection between the two of them. And I figured he was kind of fucking her for some reason. Because MLC is stupid like that. She's the sweetest girl, and he's just a pervert crap head. And he's black. So that kind of made sense in a way, again, because he was a ghost in my dream. He wasn't a person in my dream. Like Ella was a person in my dream. And I've had dreams with other people where they are people, but when it came to this one black guy, which I dreamt of, he was a ghost, which I thought maybe described the way his soul was. Like he's not a real person. He's just a half-breed, a ghost. Like you can't really interact with the ghost like that or something. I had a third point that I wanted to make too. I don't know if I'll be able to remember it now. Oh, and then there's this other story in Gnostic text, and it's not really totally biblical, but it's like an explanatory explanation of why things work the way they do, and that is like the biblical story of Adam and Eve, and they talk about how Eve, she was raped by demons because she wanted to escape Earth, because she saw that the God of this world in the Garden of Eden, he was a false god, and she just wanted to get out of there. So the rape of Eve story goes that Eve was raped, and then she gave birth to Cain, and then Cain murdered Abel, and then Cain was cursed to wander the desert listlessly or something, forevermore or something. Like he just had this eternal condition set upon him that he couldn't escape himself. So I figured either Eve was raped. They say that Eve was raped by demons, and then she gave birth to something. I think that Eve was raped by Oh yeah, here's my more solid third point. I gotta remember now. I think Cain was black or something because he wandered the desert. And I also have to say that the DNA age of Europeans and white people is like roughly 15,000 years old. And the DNA age of black people, I kind of forget, but it's like a lot older. It's like 40,000 or something. So that would really mean that the God of this world, Satan, when he created the world, he made humanoid types. You know, this is how the story goes. It didn't start with Adam and Eve. If you think about like the giants and the fairies that you can look up on YouTube and see that they are real, and like dwarves and goblins, all these other humanoid types are, and aliens, all these other humanoid types are real and true. And so if the DNA age is older than what we might expect Adam and Eve's origin date to have begun with, then you would have to conclude that those other humanoids were created before Adam and Eve. And there's a story about how Adam and Eve, they are brought to life by the goddess Sophia. You know, the bride of Christ. So if African DNA age is like 40,000 years old, then that means that they did not have they were not they were not given life by the goddess of Sophia, and Jesus meant to only save the bride of Christ. So his promise is not to black people. He came here for white people. Jesus was white. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Robert Seffer has this video about how Mary, the mother of Jesus, she had a lineage from like Europe or Germany or something, where her grandfather or father, his name was Adolf, and he was a descendant of Odin. And there's this other connection. Odin had this event where he sat in a tree for a long time, and he died on a tree, on a cross. So they have this relative genetically similar experience in life where they did the same thing in a certain way, and Jesus kind of meant to fulfill his Odin's finality by dying on the tree instead of just hanging up on there. But this is not. I just wanted to say this about how black people aren't really in the promise of salvation inherently, because they were created long before Europeans or white people. So it really does kind of speak to me to conclude that in the same way that I should be afraid of Sasquatch and be nervous about fairies and gnomes, maybe not so much about the latter, but I think it's right to be racist because they are not, they weren't created in the same way that I have been created, being a white person, being created or having been given life by Sophia when she breathed life into us. Okay, but just to bare bones again, black guy, he died. He saw darkness, saw blackness, and other native people or like Mexican people, when they died, they went to heaven and they saw me as well. They said I was very prominent in heaven, but they said they saw no black people. So that's why I'm saying it's probably a good rule of thumb to be racist because there's no reason to have communion with someone who isn't even potentially ever going to go to heaven. No black people in heaven, and they saw me in heaven. So that's like kind of outside time. So I just kind of want to make this video and make it more prominent by posting it on YouTube and better getting the message out there if anyone wants to hear my experience with how I feel about my respect for black people, a black person's eternal value. Again, I've been raped by black people like 6 or 7 times, and I bit their penis off every time. And they've raped my friends in college as well too, in like this freak off. After I bit off Eric Hahn's penis, I just want to lay out all these bare bone facts and post it on YouTube and go nowhere in life again. But I want you to take this away that black people don't go to heaven because people have died and they have not seen any black people in heaven. So I don't know what you want to call them if they're not going to heaven. I think they were just the creation of Satan to begin with, before Adam and Eve. And then I feel like Adam and Eve were also like created by Satan, but Satan couldn't give them life. So Sophia came down and she breathed her soul life into Adam and Eve. That's why we're here now. So I think us white people are very out of place in this world. But these things I know to be true. I know these people. I know the Mexicans did say that there were no black people in heaven. And I also had a dream about a black person, and he was a ghost. I kind of spilled a little extra, but I wanted to get this bare bone message across to YouTube at least. What else can I say?